Welcome to Visit Extended channel. I would like to continue introduce how to write master and doctorate thesis. My motivation is that I'm the master degree supervisor in Guangdong University of Technology in the field of the industrial engineering and management. That is why I share this experiment. Is my motivation. And I would like to use Professor Ch6 book. It's a practical handbook to write doctorate and master thesis. It's a structure separate in here, and now I'm talking about the research method, scientific field, and social science. And there are two parts. First part is the research method using natural and applied science. It's separating the selection, the research material, analysis the research material, and also validate your research material. At the end, the research case study. Part 2 is the social science, research methodology, and research approach method. Even though I'm not social science, I'm focused on nature and applied science. However, I've used this Professor Ch6 book to introduce some method they will use for your reference. In the selection of research material, nature science will focus on experimental analysis. Applied science focus on technology innovation. And the selection of research methods or material depends on the research topic that could separate into macroscopic or microscopic. Two data analysis methods are introduced before. The qualitative is more in inductive reasoning, and quantitative analysis is a deductive reasoning. So I'm using the sequence of the list diagram to introduce what is an inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. First, I'll talk about deductive reasoning. In deductive reasoning, is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like this one. Is you have the theory, and then you make the hypothesis. After that, you investigate and do the experiment and verification and confirm your theory. It is from the conceptualization processing to operation processing and go back to conceptual processing. However, in inductive reasoning, we start from free investigation and experiment, or observation is an operation processing, and verify your data, your information, and propose the theory. From operation processing, go to conceptualization processing, and come back. So it's the main difference. We are start from collect information and consolidate and rearrange to propose your theory. Another one is a deduction. Is that you have the hypothesis first from the system theory, or you would like to propose new theory. You have new hypothesis first and design your experiment and confirm it. That is a two different circles. Then analysis of your research material. There are three analysis tools. First one is an experimental research method, like laboratory experiment to obtain the quantitative and precision prediction. Second is a theoretical analysis method, using simple hypothesis to obtain the actual solution for gathering equation or research problem. Third one is the numerical simulation analysis method, using supercomputer to solve the complex physical problem to obtain descriptive solution. As an example, some example different models: a hybrid model, Cooper model, real-time model, finite different model, finite element method, finite volume method, and boundary integral method, etc. I remember my degree supervisor used a finite element model to do the aircraft analysis, the force or the structure. And verification of research material, how to verify it. We have introduced the deduction and induction method, both employed to verify and amend the theory. Deduction is search some unknown, and then induction used to amend the theory of the existing evidence and did not match the hypothesis. So verification is based on the two methods. One is do the experiment, another one is the investigation. Experiment, we can have the quantitative analysis, the experiment result, and compare with the theory model or hypothesis. If the experiment result did not match the hypothesis, we give up the hypothesis and we define it. Investigation is neither quantitative or qualitative analysis. Method include on-site investigation, interview, historical comparison, observation, and case study research. There are some process for information selection and verification. When you start, you have theory, you need to collect different information, use either experimental method or an investigation method. After that, you collect the information. You can use either qualitative or quantitative analysis and compare the result. After that, you have the theoretical analysis method, either the numerical or experimental. And if experimental, so that it is not compliant, so you need to amend your theory and go through the process again. Otherwise, you can co-propose or model hypothesis validated and end of your research. So in the research case study, when you design of experimental plan, you have the line step. First, you need to define your experimental purpose. What is the abstract, background, meaning, and task distribution? Then, setting of the experimental condition. You need to collect the information, and then setting your experimental method, model scope, skill, and time. Setting the experimental model. What model you design and structure of tools consideration. And then setting your experimental step. Prepare experiment, inspection model or experimental method, implement validation of the result. And then you need to measurement and test the method if you use some different instrument. Preparation of experimental plan progress, and then you need to estimate the budget, your experimental funding, and information analysis and verification is at the end during your plan. Okay, now go to the part 2. Part 2 is for social science research method. I think in Professor Chu, the Taiwan scholar, they are more familiar in this field, so they are description method. But most method I may not have experiment, but I just introduce to you. And there are theoretical assumption, research approach, research method, research technology. And part B is a research approach and model. They have different model, nature and source, define the concept of procedure, paradigm and models, function of model and selection of model. So we say there are 4 levels of method to study social science. First level is a system level. Second, principle level. Third, institution level. 4 is operation level. I think it is similar to the society. It's similar to the organization. It's a small size of society. So it's also useful for the management research. Hypothetic assumption or ideology is a basic view of the things and nature and essential. So you can see this diagram. There are some subjective research approach compared with the objective research approach, and there are different type of these both approach and identify. But I'm not familiar. You are just if you are interested, you can study more about that. I would like to talk about the methodology. In the objective, they are normal fitted. And if the subjective is ideographic, so it is a different methodology. In the research approach, they are separate into different psychological approach. I like this separation approach, an approach or correlation and evolution approach, because they start from tone, individual. Another approach is start from area, space, and other is the line because time and history. So in this approach, you depends on what you are studying related. You need to, if from individual, you need to consider their behavior mode and selection mode. From the space, your systematic analysis and institutional approach, and also political process. If from the line, it's the history and timeline, objective trend research approach, or subjective development approach you will use. In research method, similar previous one also have the three major separation is along experimental, QC experimental, and also experimental method. Research technique. Researchers use any method and tools to collect information, such as questionnaire, interview, form, etc. It is called experimentalism. Research tools only consider its effectiveness. For example, the tools should be combined with nature. The purpose of tools is to collect useful information and for verification or hypothesis. Task. The targets. The interrelationship could be defined clearly, and tools design effectiveness depends on the research purpose. Design questionnaire is important, should be clear and simple. Sometimes the language used you are focused. I have experience helped a career professor to do the research, use English for Asia, different country, but however, most of country response rate is very low because it is not mother tongue in the country. That is why during your design the questionnaire, you need to consider the 4 different languages of different group of people. Model of the nature and source, the result of the abstract concept in our mind, and model or mental framework. We will talk about there are some model employed in the political decision research. It's another field of political decision. Rational model, engagement model, mixed scanning model, and optimal model. Concept used to help people to understand phenomenal idea. And define concept procedure. Don't consider the concept to be absolutely given or objective. Only consider it as a kind of the tools. And the overall meaning of subject depends on the set of the interrelated concept, and the framework or model is used to interpret the role. It's a more different complex than you are afraid of it. Paradigm and model is meaning some standard model. Any academic study have their characteristic present in process of model building. It's a rational or scientific to do as the paradigm. Knowledge is come from the hypothesis of critical or empirical evaluation. We expand phenomena from 2 types of statement. We have generalization statement or particular facts statement. So this is a 2 direction, particularly and generalization, to explain the phenomena. Different between theory and model. They are model or theory aims to explain the phenomena, especially political phenomena. Model is to discover or subject a political relationship and potentially fulfill the of the research, the areas of the research. And then the function of model is a model can help researcher to select standard. There are three fundamental functions: organization function, inspiration, and predication. It is a three fundamental function of the model. Prediction is one of the important aspects. Okay, the last one is how do you select the model? Do the model relevant? You need to ask some question yourself. Do it corresponding to the phenomena? Does this model economic or compare with others to be more simple? Does this model to have organizing, suggestion, and prediction function? If more than one model fulfill about the requirement, research could select the one who are more interested. So now I would like to share my research MPhil study. Then define your research methodology approach, and I use the experimental method to define the sampling analysis, instrumentation, and data analysis technique. This is a sampling map when I have the schedule and location and the theme location in the Gallery Research Agricultural Research Center, and here and my location of the sampling. And during the instrument, you need to self-design tools to overcome some difficulty. At that time, we use SRF. Our filter paper were under vacuum, so I need to design the fixture to make it firm and do the purpose. And then data analysis and modeling. After collect all information, I can calculate the flux of the sulfur content in Hong Kong atmosphere, how many income, out, and emission and down. So it is overall the box model. The second of my study is MSc destination for indoor air quality. So I also have the sample plan, sample instrument, and data analysis. Also do the experimental analysis, I have a sampling plan and location. And inside each location have the small separation of 4 and sampling point and the period of time of sampling. Instrumentation, we use the handheld indoor air quality, but more difficulty is use the Anderson 6 cascade inverter to find the different size distribution of the indoor air microbes. In my last study in engineer doctorate, I also need to build a model and verify by case study. It's a QC experimentally. So doing that, I have the research methodology to describe how I can do that. And then I modify the objective-oriented research methodology. So in my doctorate degree is more structured in the methodology, the background research, and what methodology I'm using, literature review and analysis file, and some research questions for justification. So we have the pilot study before during the conference, find the quality professional and IT professional respond. And then the model development and model implementation and validation and different methodology employed. This is a model I set, and another tools model, the FMEA, user pendulum track circle. After that, we propose the implementation model for the company to follow up and validate in each step. And then the verification and validation tools use the different questionnaire to ask our expert and our staff. Okay, I'm finished here and also used Professor Troyman's photo at the end to propose the standards for solving contradiction problem, and I believe it should have the good thing and benefit for your research when you face the research contradiction problem. So at the end, thank you for your attention. See you in next class. Bye.